5 boundaries that instantly shut down manipulators. If you constantly feel drained, confused, or guilty after certain conversations, that's not sensitivity, that's manipulation at work. The truth is, manipulators don't overpower you with strength. They slip in through the cracks where boundaries should be. Today, we close those cracks, permanently. Number 1. You don't explain yourself more than once. Most people think explaining themselves is a sign of maturity, and once, yes, it is. But repeating yourself over and over is not clarity, it's surrender. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Manipulators don't need more information. They already understand what you said. What they're really doing is testing how far they can push you before you fold. The first explanation is respect. The second is generosity. The third is control taking hold. Manipulators thrive in fog. They pretend to misunderstand. They ask the same questions in slightly different ways. They twist your words just enough to make you doubt yourself. And if you keep explaining, you're feeding the system they depend on: confusion, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. So this boundary is simple but powerful. You say what you mean, you say it clearly, and then you stop talking. Silence, in this moment, is not weakness, it's authority. Because once someone realizes they can't wear you down with endless "but I don't get it" tactics, their leverage disappears. They can't drag you into debates. They can't exhaust you into compliance. They can't reshape your decision through repetition. This boundary doesn't make you rude, it makes you grounded. Calm, repetition-free communication sends a clear signal. I trust myself enough not to keep justifying my existence. And here's the irony. Healthy people respect this instantly. Only manipulators feel threatened by it. Because when explanations end, so does their ability to steer the narrative. Say it once. Mean it. Stand still. That's how control slips out of their hands. Number 2, you don't accept apologies without change. An apology can sound beautiful. Soft voice, regretful tone, perfect timing. But here's what manipulators know and use expertly. Words can reset the situation without fixing the behavior. Some people don't apologize because they're accountable. They apologize because they're afraid of losing access to you. The apology isn't the repair, it's the pause button. It buys them time. It keeps you emotionally invested. And most importantly, it allows the pattern to continue. How do you spot the difference? Manipulative apologies are fast, frequent, familiar. You've heard them before, many times, and yet nothing actually changes. Same actions, same excuses, same cycle. A real apology comes with a visible upgrade, new behavior, adjusted patterns, conscious effort. Not perfection, but progress. Because accountability isn't spoken, it's demonstrated. So this boundary shifts your focus completely. You stop listening for remorse. You start watching for movement. You don't forgive repetition. You forgive improvement. That doesn't make you unforgiving. It makes you discerning. You're no longer emotionally bribed by words that lead nowhere. You're not cold, you're accurate. And when someone realizes that apologies alone no longer reopen the door, something interesting happens. Either they change or they disappear. Both outcomes are clarity. This boundary teaches people how to treat you. It says, if you want access to me, growth is the price. And manipulators, they hate prices they can't talk their way out of. Number 3, you don't react immediately. Manipulation feeds on speed, pressure, emotional chaos. The faster they can get a reaction out of you, the less time you have to think, and that's exactly the point. Manipulators create urgency on purpose. They push you to respond now, decide now, forgive now, agree now. Because rushed decisions usually benefit them, not you. When emotions are high, clarity is low, and they know it. So this boundary introduces something they can't stand. A pause. You don't explode. You don't defend. You don't rush to explain or justify. You slow the moment down. You breathe. You feel the emotion without acting on it. And then you choose your response instead of handing it over. One simple sentence can dismantle the entire tactic. I'll get back to you. It's calm, neutral, non-confrontational, and devastating to manipulation. That pause does several things at once. It gives your nervous system time to settle. It exposes the tactic clearly, and it sends a quiet message. You don't control my reactions. When you stop reacting instantly, manipulators lose their grip. Because their power was never in logic, it was in urgency. Remove the urgency, and suddenly their arguments sound thinner. Their pressure feels obvious. Their confidence wavers. Healthy people respect this boundary. They understand that thoughtful responses lead to better outcomes. Manipulators, on the other hand, get frustrated. They push harder, or they retreat. Either way, you've broken the spell. This boundary doesn't make you passive. It makes you intentional, and intention is the enemy of control. Number 4, you don't reward bad behavior with more effort. This is one of the most exhausting traps people fall into, and one of the hardest to unlearn. When someone pulls away, you lean in. When they give less, you give more. When they withdraw affection, attention, or respect, you try harder. It feels loving. It feels loyal. But here's the truth. Effort should be matched, not chased. Manipulators often reduce their effort on purpose, not because they're overwhelmed, but because they're watching, measuring, testing how much you'll tolerate, seeing how desperate you are to keep the connection alive. And when you respond to distance with overgiving, you teach a dangerous lesson. Disrespect gets rewarded. So this boundary flips the pattern completely. When they give less, you don't give more. You match their energy. You stop chasing. You stand still. This isn't about punishment. It's about self-respect. You're not withdrawing to manipulate back. You're simply refusing to overextend for someone who isn't meeting you halfway. Watch what happens when you do this. People who care will notice. They'll correct themselves. They'll step forward again. Manipulators, however, panic or disengage, because the game only works when you're the one doing all the work. This boundary protects your energy. It keeps your effort clean. And it teaches others that connection with you requires mutual investment, not emotional labor performed alone. You're not becoming distant. You're becoming balanced. And balance leaves no room for exploitation. Number 5, you don't stay where you're not valued. This is the final boundary, the most powerful one, and the hardest to live by. Manipulators survive on one dangerous assumption, that you won't leave, that you're too loyal, too patient, too forgiving, too hopeful to walk away. They rely on your endurance more than your consent. But the moment that belief breaks, everything changes. This boundary isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't come from anger or revenge. It comes from quiet self-respect. You recognize when you're no longer valued, and instead of negotiating your worth, you choose to step away. Leaving is not losing. Leaving is choosing. You choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, respect over crumbs, self-worth over emotional debt. And here's what manipulators fear most. Not confrontation, not arguments, not even boundaries spoken aloud. They fear detachment. Because the moment you're willing to walk away, their leverage disappears. There's nothing left to threaten, nothing left to withhold. You don't announce this boundary. You embody it. You stop explaining why you deserve better. You stop hoping potential will replace reality. You stop investing in places that drain you. And once someone realizes you don't stay where you're undervalued, the games stop. Either they rise to meet you, or they vanish. Both outcomes protect your peace. This boundary transforms kindness from a liability into a strength, because kindness without boundaries gets exploited. But kindness with boundaries becomes unshakable power. So remember these 5. Say things once. Expect change, not apologies. Respond slowly. Match effort, don't chase. And walk away when respect disappears. You're not becoming cold, you're becoming clear. And clarity is the end of manipulation. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.